your votes as well. Mr. Wagner was elected to put individuals in office who possess the same principles he was elected to pursue, like Mr. Morris. It was partisan and prejudiced to fail to confirm Stephen Morris to the position of Chief Justice. Instead of using the qualities, accomplishments, and qualifications as the deciding factor in your decision, personal political views and agendas were used to overpower the stellar person and experience that Mr. Morris would provide. Do not make that mistake again. Know that what has happened to Stephen Morris did not go unnoticed. We will fight this. The unjustness of this decision will be remembered, and you must be held accountable. Auburn champions diversity in all capacities. This includes those who hold Christian beliefs and conservative views. To disallow Mr. Morris to assume this role is discrimination in the highest regard. You have attempted to say that someone's religious beliefs and political views will decide if they will be confirmed to a position or not. Discrimination can be against anyone, and it has most undoubtedly been committed against Mr. Morris. You claim to be diverse, and you claim to be inclusive, yet you say that Mr. Morris cannot be given a position because of his political views and religious beliefs. Regardless of whether or not you agree with his tweets, we must all come to this conclusion. Disallowing a duly selected student who is not only qualified for his position, but I would argue even overqualified, to assume the position he was selected for over a few tweets is a neglect of the Student Senate's responsibility. It is not within the Student Senate's job to decide which religious values or political views are allowed within leadership at Auburn University. In doing so, you have undermined what the student body intended for SGA to be. Be the fair and impartial, honest leaders that we look for you to be. An anonymous Auburn student. Thank you.
That will conclude open forum. Now that open forum is finished, we will do a roll call. What? Yes. Would you like to utilize open forum? You may come do so. Apologies. Yeah, you can grab that one too if you need. That one. Yeah, you're fine.
Okay. Hi. I'm Dion. I'm a sophomore in political science, and I'm about to start a concurrent degree with global studies and human sciences, which I'm kind of excited for. And I work in the Cross-Cultural Center as the Heritage Month coordinator. And ironically, like a lot of people who have spoke here today, I say everything I say with the fear of being blackballed, which is kind of funny, since we're talking a lot about cancel culture. But I don't think this really has anything to do with cancel culture. I think it's more about accountability. And I'm not gonna repeat a lot of what I've already said because I was at the last meeting. Oops. But I was thinking about giving this speech about my upbringing and how I've, like my experiences with poverty, food insecurity, homophobia, and racism, and like all these things that I've experienced that were like really hurtful, really traumatizing, but I don't feel like I should have to say all that. I don't feel like I should have to tell you about my trauma and cry and give a sob story for y'all to understand why a man who holds a deep white savior complex and deep transphobic sentiment shouldn't be confirmed for this position, or really any position in the Senate. Senate itself has pushed for Auburn to focus on social justice and protecting other students that are not the majority. And y'all have seen the emotions of many people who have spoken out against Stephen Morris. And I feel like there shouldn't be much else to say. Y'all have an obligation to think about the students who may not look like you, who may not think like you, and think about their protection. And know that a confirmation of Stephen Morris would be a slap in the face to many at Auburn. And a lot of people are saying, like, leave political stuff out of it, but it's literally Student Government Association, and the personal is political. And I think y'all should keep that in mind. Thank you.
All right, you're fine, I'll get that. Would anyone else like to utilize open forum at this time? All right, that's going to conclude open forum. We will now move into roll call. Looking around, I believe I've counted 33. So, Jet, you can, am I correct? Who are we missing? You don't have to tell me that, actually. Is 32 not me? All right. Okay. Moving on, we will go to the approval of the minutes. So, minutes were sent electronically both last week and again in my reminder email. I would ask for other any corrections to the minutes. Ms. DeVore, of course, if you'd like to stand up, I believe you have provided multiple. Taylor, of which I believe you have rectified, but Elizabeth, please still let us know which ones you found.
Can I just stand here?
Yeah, you're more welcome to.
Yes, I provided these to Cole and Taylor beforehand. But anyone please correct me if I'm wrong on interpretation. So on page 2, under the College of Agriculture, item A, it should be just SCPS or Student Counseling and Psychological Services in terms of liaison. I just figured it was important to clarify that because there are liaisons for BSU and for student veterans. Also, on page 2, again, clarification on item F, B, in communication with the SCPS liaison. On page 3, under graduate school report, item E, to obtain more B-zone spots, again, just for clarity. Also, on page 3, just to delete the closing parenthesis at the end of the sentence on item B under Harrison School of Pharmacy. Also, on page 3, under academic affairs, item A, instead of working on the lockdown browser initiative, it should be lockdown browser update just because there's no current initiative. But based off of discussions with the library. On page 4, under student affairs, item F, ice machine survey went out showing this QR code. I was assuming that we were going to be showing the QR code to students during office hours. Also on page 4, under executive committee, item A, all senators must instead of senators most. And then finally on page 5, under announcements for the vice president, item D, again, great job meeting with the SCPS liaisons.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I cannot thank you enough for the detail with which you read those minutes. If there are no more corrections to the minutes, then we will move forward. We will move into reports of officers, beginning with Mr. Wagner.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the Senate, the legislation before us tonight has taught me a valuable lesson. SGA is important. That importance comes not only from the manner by which we serve Auburn University, but also from the lessons that SGA teaches each of us about the world in which we will soon live. We are learning lessons that no classroom could ever teach us. Judicial philosophy, civility, oration, that the tone we take with one another and the very words we choose have consequences, and that the Constitution guarantees each of us the right to free speech without fear that our government will punish us if it disagrees with that speech. We in SGA have a legislative body, and that body exists to uphold the Auburn University Student Code of Laws, a code of laws that exists to govern us and provide fairness for all. That code of laws is also important. This summer, under the direction of that code, I made appointments for SGA's judicial branch. As required by the code and by time-honored principles of judicial constraint, I based my decision about who to appoint on one thing: the candidates' demonstrated understanding of the judicial process, explained through their qualifications and objectives. I believe, as many if not all of you in this room, that the judicial process operates most effectively when a justice understands that his or her job is not to make the laws, but merely to interpret the laws made by an appropriately charged legislative body. Back in July, the legislative process played out. In keeping with that same important code, the Senate considered my appointments and came to a conclusion, casting your vote based on who you thought was or was not suited for the role. An open question, however, is whether the Senate's rejection was based properly on ability or based improperly with an unconstitutional lens against free speech. Even those ideas which some of you found distasteful are undoubtedly and by law opinions. They are not by any measure statements regarding a nominee's qualifications and objectives for a position on SGA's judicial court. After the first vote, when the judicial appointments were not confirmed, I took a step back before we restarted the application process, and I asked myself, what's the most helpful thing we can do to make sure that we come up with the best slate of candidates possible? I realized quickly that in keeping with that same judicial philosophy that I myself hold, the proper next step was to look to the Code of Laws and at how our appointment process is affected by the provisions of that code. As you know, there were certain small administrative actions taken during the first nomination process which were not fully in keeping with the Code of Laws. So, we planned out a process that would ensure our governing document was followed in its entirety. First, we activated SGA's Communications and Marketing Network to advertise a reopened judicial selection process. We didn't have an abundance of applicants the first time around, but with an added emphasis on marketing, we were able to double our applicant pool at the beginning of this semester. Next, I looked at who might advise me on the selection of this second set of nominees. In an effort to assemble the most knowledgeable counselors possible, I formed a committee of relevant student experts to give me wise counsel on this decision. These people came from across the student body, with representatives from established service organizations on campus, representatives from another student activity organization, representatives with an interest in a legal career, and representatives from SGA itself. This committee reviewed applications, conducted interviews, and deliberated with one another to fairly and objectively recommend a strong slate of candidates from the applications received. I'm very appreciative of this advisory group's hard work, advising me objectively and prudently on my appointments. But these important steps were not all that we needed to do to get us to this fair and even process tonight. After recommendations from the committee were received, I personally contacted applicants to ask them the most important question. Not whether they have thoughts on COVID, not whether they voted for me or my opponents, not what their political beliefs are, or who they supported for U.S. president in the last election. Instead, I asked them whether they, like I, believe that the role of a judge is to objectively apply the SGA Code of Laws to the facts presented in the cases that go before them. The slate you have before you today, you see, has not been chosen in any manner that limits their free speech or improperly poses some litmus test on their appointment. They are your fellow students who care about serving this institution, who, just like you, do not mind sticking out their necks to participate in shared governance. And most importantly, they are students who understand the proper role of the judiciary, period. Therefore, members of the Senate, with pride in Auburn SGA for its unmatched educational opportunities, with that prevailing judicial philosophy in mind, with wise counsel from our student peers adept in relevant topics, and after a much broader and more inclusive process of seeking applicants for these important posts, I submit this slate of nominees for your confirmation. Our peers are watching us to see if we will follow the code under which we were elected and the laws of this great nation where we are blessed to live.
That concludes Rhett Wagner's report. Stephen Sadie has no report this evening. Communications and Marketing has no report this evening. Molly Boudreaux has no report with Outreach. Michael Thomas.
Okay, hello. Hello. Okay, War Eagle, y'all. I just wanted to keep this brief and say what an incredible game day experience that we were able to have back in Jordan-Hare. It was really awesome, truly, to see the student turnout throughout the whole game, but I also want to commend you all on the different feedback that you brought forth throughout many different areas of campus, and ask now that I'm sure a lot of you have, to bring forth feedback either to email to me or come talk with me after about the game day operations and how we can continue to improve them throughout the year, as well as during this time as we phase out the last of the Tiger Transit buses. If you all have feedback regarding that matter as well, I would love to hear that now or later. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael Salas. County Administration, no report. From there, that will conclude our reports from our officers, and we'll move into reports from our colleges, beginning with at-large. You may come down and let's stand at the podium. Tyler, did you have no report? Or did no report. No okay. Report. I got it.
Jones at large. This past Friday, John and I had lunch at the Edge, which was great, by the way. But also, too, we talked about the study space timeline and the committee that we're forming. I reached out to some of you about joining that committee and basically working forward on a timeline to pass a resolution at the end of the semester, which would sort of give us time to formulate a brief and a presentation and then present that to administration, hopefully about a month before we start working on that resolution. So if you have any input in that, please let me know. But that's all from at large.
Thank you. Moving from at large to agriculture.
Morgan, agriculture. This past Thursday, we had our first Ag Council meeting of the semester, which consists of representatives from each of our 23 organizations, as well as our school's council and cabinet. It's a really great way to get feedback from everybody, and I was able to plug late night dining as well as Auburn Answers, so awesome for that. And on student feedback, not a lot from directly getting from students, but we are able to put a Google form out on our Ag Council Instagram, so really hoping that students that are really wanting to talk in person will use that so we can get a lot more feedback from them that way.
Thank you. Moving now to business. And if the next college can be up and ready to speak.
Dickinson Business. Last Monday, our school's council met and discussed their plans and goals for the year, and we'll be working close with them to ensure that our constituents are well represented. Next week, we have professional headshots coming up next week for students enrolled in the College of Business. Also, Business Bash will take place on September 16th, which basically just gives freshmen exposure to all the clubs and organizations offered throughout the business school. Business Council freshman applications are now open until September 17th. We've also been reminding students enrolled in the business school of the QR code that we developed last semester as another method of submitting feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dickinson. Moving to Cat C. And the co-sam for this week. Ready to go, everyone?
Hinson, Cat C. I'll be brief. Ashley and I and our school's council started a new initiative to go to monthly CAD C organization meetings, which includes AIAS and AGC along with others. Just some feedback I've gotten this week regarding game days. I heard some complaints about the execution of the lines / entry to the stadium, as well as the guest pass system being a little bit colluded. And that's it.
Thank you so much. Co-sam.
Nyack, COSAM. Forgot this is not working. Anyways, so this past week we actually had an ice cream party, which turned out really, really well. Students, got free ice cream, but also got to talk about, their classes and stuff like that with their advisors. So really putting a face to the name was important, and that was the main objective of that event. That's really, truly all COSAM has for this week. I'd actually like to introduce and yield my time to Maggie.
Who is the
She's the president of the COSAM, like, yeah.
Good evening. I'm Maggie Nicholson. I'm the president of COSAM on Schools Council, and I'm just really here to introduce myself to you guys tonight. Some things that Schools Council do, we host welcome events, and so COSAM had the opportunity to pass out donuts in a COVID-friendly way this past welcome week, and we're also planning a, we're trying to plan an event for social time for COSAM students as well as like community service, so hoping to host a drive later in the semester. And I will be giving a report later on at the end of this term in the spring, so I look forward to seeing you all then.
Thank you. Education.
Dodd Education, we are happy to announce that our president and vice president are coming to the Senate meeting on September 20th, and they are also both in contact with their advisor and in the process of setting up an application process for the rest of our schools council positions that we have available.
Thank you so much. From education to engineering.
Lock engineering. Just some general feedback, and I just want to preface this by saying this is the feedback that I gathered. So I also saw today in an Instagram poll that might not be the general consensus of the student body, so just prefacing that. But music in the student center, I've heard some complaints that it's a little bit too loud and too distracting, but on the Instagram poll it was overwhelmingly positive feedback, so maybe middle ground is maybe turning the volume down a little bit. Game day feedback, it was really exciting to be back in Jordan-Hare. One thing that I did notice that really upset a lot of people is as they were trying to leave the student section, there was a blockade stopping them from coming back in. And I heard reports of people saying that it was because if they need to get into the to the student section in case someone passes out, they need to have a clear path or something. But at the same time, people weren't trying to leave the student section anymore to get water, so they wouldn't pass out because they were afraid they couldn't go back in. So something to be done about that. As far as engineering goes, trying to get our office hours posted on the screens in Brown Copel. There's also now a security guard in Brown Copel enforcing the mask mandate. And I now yield the rest of my time to our Vice President of Schools Council, Tyler Kennard.
As Riley stated, I'm Tyler Kennard, the Vice President of Engineering School Council. The first Friday of the semester, we hosted a welcome event. We had over 1,500 students show up. We handed out hamburgers and hot dogs. Thank you, thank you. We had over 20 engineering organizations. A lot of the 1,500 students, they became members of those organizations. In the following months, next month, we're planning a Beat Bama food drive involving cans. And in November, we are planning a Spirit Week. So if you have any questions, I'm Tyler Kennard. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That concludes engineering. We move to forestry and wildlife sciences. And I'm going to sit for a second, if that's okay.
Starling School of Forestry and Wildlife Sciences. So we also had our first schools council meeting this past Thursday. It was very productive. It was our first time meeting in person and really getting to kind of plan with each other what we're expecting from each other and of our SGA as a whole this semester. We planned lots of events that we hope to pull off, lots of fundraisers, as our SGA has been lacking in funds for a little while. We also were given expectations from our advisor and our school and our dean from us that they expect from SGA. As for some feedback I've gathered this past week, I did hear in one of my classes a student was a little bit concerned about the state of SGA just as a whole from elections week, just objectively. She was stating that what she noticed in elections week was that SGA was very in your face. It was very loud. Everyone knew SGA elections were happening. And then in her opinion, it's kind of dwindled, and the role of SGA in her life as a student has kind of dwindled. The platforms that were thrown in her face during elections week have kind of not been resolved yet. She said specifically in diversity and inclusion, though this was a discussion we had before the website was released, so hopefully she's seen that and is a little more encouraged that work is being done behind the scenes. Additionally, there was today an email release to students that C parking by, I believe, the Hayfield lot is being a little harsher about where students are parking. They're looking to make sure you park at the bumpers and not in the grass. If you've seen it, you know tons of students line up there along the grass and in the field. And that is where School of Forestry parks. That is a lot of the foresters, which, you know, nature is your parking ground. That's fine with them. And so you would imagine a lot of the foresters, a lot of our students were a little unhappy, dissatisfied with the thought of the closest parking to the building being moved to, I did the GPS, 17 minutes away at the Gouge Performing Arts is where they were told to have to move once that lot is full. So a lot of students were dissatisfied with that. And on top of being dissatisfied with dining, we are in a little bit of a tussle in School of Forestry. But if anyone in parking is willing to help me, I'd love to discuss and find ways that we can help my students. So thank you.
Graduate school. And please be paying attention.
All right, DeVore Graduate School. Good evening, everyone. So we had our first graduate school Dean's Cafe last Wednesday in the graduate school, Hargis Hall. Went very well. We had over 30 attendees, which if you actually saw the conference room for that, that's actually quite a bit that came in and out during the hour. So I got to hear from one of our Fulbright scholars who's in the College of Engineering, who's a student who traveled here from Afghanistan, whose family is impacted by what's happening currently. And he is trying to focus on anything that he can control right now. And what that means is trying to find support for families who are not in the position that his family is in. So I'm going to be working with him, gave him all of my contact information so that we can get connected and look for fundraiser opportunities. Also, I spoke to students about the parking situation, as I mentioned in previous report. So I guess now I have to apologize to not only the nursing senator, but also forestry and wildlife, because I know that is being directly impacted by the influx of graduate students who did not receive a B-zone parking upgrade. I've been providing updates to Dr. Flowers, our dean, each week since the very beginning of the semester. And when the C-zone email went out to students this morning, I forwarded that to him along with a note about what's going on at the hayfield. And also, I've been taking photos each day when I park in B-zone to show that there's usually like over 100 spaces, in some cases 200 spaces that are still available in the B-zone lot by the village dormitories. So I'm hoping to see some improvement there. I'm trying to work on my end. I hope that it's gonna result in some change. And then finally, in terms of graduate student council and what we are currently working on, we are planning our tailgate. I've reached out to Vet Med and Pharmacy along with the Black Graduate and Professional Student Association for us to plan our tailgate. We're tentatively looking at the October 30th game, which is against Ole Miss. So we're going to be planning that, and hopefully we'll be able to directly work with the other schools. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Human sciences.
Williams, Human Sciences. Wow, I'm short. Okay. Not much from us. This next officer meeting is just going to be myself and the president and vice president in our mentoring chair, getting that all situated so we can get our freshmen some mentors so we can kind of foster that relationship with them. And then just general feedback, it's already been said, but I have personally heard that people don't really like the student center music. I don't know if it's so much don't like as to just find it weird because they're used to it being quiet, and then like Ain't It Fun by Paramore is playing when you're walking from Chick-fil-A. And then game day feedback, I heard some complaints about block seating, about not being able to get back in even when you had wristbands. And then I also heard people were confused about the whole ticket thing and guest passes with the new mobile Tiger card.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Liberal arts.
Hall Liberal Arts. So, last week headshots were a fantastic success. Senator Belser kind of updated us on that.
In addition, our office hours were posted on the CLA Instagram, so we got a lot of FaceTime with some of our constituents. I actually had the opportunity to connect a freshman with Forum, which was cool, right? Right on. And additionally, kind of going off of what Senator Watkins kind of spoke about, Senator Belser received feedback about the new C-zone updates, and so that honestly affects liberal arts as well because we are spread out college. Let me see. And then finally, my fellow senators and I are looking at kind of getting a concerns box of some sort put into the Haley Center as well as Tichenor. I know it sounds kind of funny, but just having something open where students can put in their concerns, you know, even if we're not there in person at that time. So that's about it.
Thank you, Ryan. Moving to nursing.
Sefton Nursing. We've been working with our wellness committee to plan a kickball tournament and a haunted hospital, so we're super excited about that, and that's pretty much it.
Woohoo. Thank you. Moving to pharmacy.
Nice Pharmacy. So we had our first General Assembly meeting today. It's the first in-person one I've been to since I started pharmacy school, so that was really exciting. We went over all the COVID policies for meetings, especially regarding food, because we've been having some trouble having our organizations follow Auburn University's guidelines, so we just wanted to clarify that for them and make it clear that it's all for the safety of our students so we can stay having things in person. And we're also trying to increase our organizational seating program participation. We didn't have a whole lot of people that wanted to do the block seating, so we're trying to make sure that they know what it is and just get people excited for the future games as well. Even if it's not a big rival, it's still really fun to come together and celebrate Auburn. So thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, we have that.
Warren, Vet Med. So things are going smoothly at the vet school. I set a time for weekly meetings with our school's council. That's 5:30 on Tuesdays. We've already discussed hosting a trunk or treat. If not this year, then we'll try and make that like an annual thing. I will be meeting with the vet school's director of student services next week to go over updates.
Thank you. That will conclude our college reports. We are now able to move on to our committee reports, beginning with academic affairs.
Dodd Education, obviously Gavin couldn't be here, so I'll be giving his report tonight. But we have a meeting set for 8:30 p.m. next Tuesday with Cabinet Academic Affairs to discuss the Landable Laptops Initiative. Our research request for our Equitable Mentorships Initiative will be submitted by the end of this week, and our Canvas calendar survey should be out this week, and we are also assessing aspirant institutions to see how they do final grade early reports.
Thank you. Moving to budget and finance.
Lisenby at large. So today we had final budget hearings and all of the budgets were passed. So I just wanted to give you a few numbers. The amount of student activity fees we had was $2,499,000 or $499,729. The total requested by student activity portfolios was $1,771,249.20, which means we had $728,479.80 left over, which is great because that means we have $600,000 allotted to the program expansion fund, and the rest is in the reserve fund.
Thank you, Reese. Moving to code of laws with Tyler.
Mathner Education. So this week in committee, we decided where in the code we would like to implement the absence policy for schools council. But before we move forward with that, we still want to get some more feedback and assessment from schools council members regarding how they feel about attending possibly twice a term in addition to their end of the year presentation. And what that would look like is kind of what you guys saw tonight from some of the schools council guests. So that was actually a perfect example. But if you are willing to get some feedback from your respective schools councils, we would love to hear it. So please just reach out to me if you have any questions about that, and I'd be happy to answer. And then we also looked into how the Constitution defines absences versus the Code of Laws. And we discovered that they do not contradict each other like we thought that they did, just because of the language using unexcused versus excused absences. So we may look into clarifying something some more that's kind of implied into that language and make it more straightforward. But that's all we've got.
Thank you, Kyla. That was my error for getting this confused. Moving to DEI, Mr. Belser.
Belser, liberal arts, so not much for me this week. Senator Seconder and Senator Rickles have been having a lot of meetings talking about their initiative. I'm going to let them talk about it a little bit more next week coming up, but they had a meeting with Emmy Beeson as well as with Jordan Branchman, who is our cabinet counterpart. A little bit more. We were supposed to have the liaison definition coming as a future order today, but I had some computer difficulties, so it will be coming as a future order next week. But I'm glad that we're finally getting that codified, put into the code. That's all I have.
Thank you so much. Moving to student affairs.
Matthews at large. Jake and his counterparts in cabinet met last week and created a timeline for the basketball lines and their new plan with that. That's a long program or a long project that Jake's been working on this entire term, so I'm excited to see that moving forward. Lucy, excuse me. Excuse me, I need some water. Lucy is working on making menus more accessible and easier to read in the Edge. On the facility side, Riley, Brandon, Casey, and myself met with a few other students at different organizations to create a team to combine our efforts on getting menstrual products on campus. Riley submitted a survey this past week, and we are going to meet again in a couple weeks to go over that survey and see what revisions need to be done for that. And finally, Kate's ice machine survey. The QR code is in the Student Senate group meet, so in your office hours this week, please get students to scan that QR code and take that survey so Kate can get data to show to administrators. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and finally the executive committee.
Sullivan Engineering, just some administrative stuff for me. Obviously, say it every week, Synod Exec will be meeting this Thursday at 7 a.m. Heck of a way to start your morning. You are required to come once a semester, so please come early. Don't wait till the last week and have 25 senators in there. Shout out to Raleigh Locke. He had a bill come through, exec, and so he came. It's a great way to use your one exec meeting, of course. Also, office hours. So new system, so I understand if some of you weren't able to fill out the binder yet. It is sitting right up there. Now you know exactly what it looks like if you haven't seen it yet. So please fill that out after this meeting. Also the Google form, if you haven't filled that out yet, I'll be closing after this meeting. With that, please be filling it out kind of as you do the office hours. I know I haven't necessarily stressed that enough, but it is really important. One of the reasons we moved the binder is that you do your office hour, and then you go up to the suite and fill it out. Or you're in the suite, do your office hour, you fill it out. Same with the Google form. You have the set time every week. The last thing you should do, you should have 5 minutes left in your office hour. Just go ahead and pull up the form, fill it out right then and there. I shouldn't have to be reminding people, hey, like, since I'm closing the form, y'all go fill it out. But that's a bit for me. Thank you guys.
Yes. We're going to get better about those office hours. Mark my word. That concludes our committee reports, and we'll now move to reports with liaisons, starting with Mr. Owens from the Honors College.
Hey guys, Owens, Honors Congress Liaison. So last Saturday, the Honors Congress threw a small tailgate for the first game of the season from 10 to 3. We served the honors community by providing long games and some excellent classic Southern food. The event went well above its initial expectations as it picked up steam and popularity very quickly for an event that got planned in 1 week. We plan to host another one later in the season, and we want to promote everything Honors Congress is doing, so you guys are all invited. Just bring some school spirit and an appetite. Also, last Saturday, we had our first block seating section for Honors Congress members at the game. Everyone had a wonderful time, as it was the first normal student game day experience for most of our members. We enjoyed the sense of community with the members of the Auburn family as the tradition, pageantry, and passion that the spirit of Auburn carries returned under the lights at Jordan-Hare once again. We still, like I mentioned for the third time now, we still have our philanthropy event, Congress for Canines, coming up next Friday, and I'm about to promote this event as much as you see Alexander Shinar signs driving down the highway. So it will be on Cater Lawn from 3 to 5. It is too cute to miss. We are partnering up with Pups on the Plains, an Auburn University nonprofit organization whose goal is to rescue and find good homes for dogs and cats. Anybody can come that day and walk a puppy as they please. We will be collecting donations at the event as well as assisting in lawn games. Our next meeting will be tomorrow at 7, and it will be our first working meeting as members will break off into their committees and work respectfully in their groups. Thank you, and have a great rest of your week.
Moving to BSU with Mr. Donovan Evans. Thank you, Luke.
Evans, BSU. I'm not as great as a speaker as Luke, but definitely going to be with him this weekend, no doubt about that. Nothing much from me in BSU, just inviting you guys to General Assembly once again every Monday. We're in the Student Center, you guys. Also, this week we have a study night event this Thursday in the Student Center, room 2107. You guys, you know, we got to get studying in. Snacks will be there. It's perfect time to get that studying crammed in. You're free to come.
Thank you. We'll move to the Student Veterans Association with Leah, but I do not. She is here. This concludes our reports, and we'll now begin to move into current orders of business. Molly, if you will change to the bill packet. Hey, is every senator in the room? I don't know, I'd ask that. No, I don't see Riley.
I think you just stepped out of use the restroom.
Poor choice of time, but it's okay. Kylie, you'll just wait. The spoil, we will be dealing with PSSB 21090701, presented by Kyla Mathner for the code deletion of after action reports in 904.1.3. And we cannot move forward until that comes back. What's that?
We joined the Zoom.
Yes, I'm so glad. Thank you all for mentioning that. I will now open the Zoom.
I'm going to go join the Zoom call.
Yeah, Kylie, you can go join the Zoom. Sorry about the distraction. There he is. I'm still waiting for all the senators to join the Zoom. Would anyone be listed as John Owens? Who's that?
That would be me. Is that a problem?
No, you're fine. Just don't vote. We still do not have all members on. All right, Kylie, you can go ahead and begin. I think we're just waiting on a few more to do that.
Mathner, Education. I ask for approval of the following. to delete 904.1.3.
Are there any questions? Seeing that there are no questions, we'll move into debate. Is there any debate?
Just to explain once again, after action reports are no longer a formal process, so we're just keeping it consistent with the code and taking it out.
All right, that concludes debate. Give me a motion.
I move to pass this bill as written.
Oh, I did that opposite order, but I'll fix that next time. All right. All those in favor say aye. Click yes. Comment yes. All those opposed say no. Comment no. All right, the ayes have it. We will now move to PSSB 21090702, presented by Kyla Mathner for the Chief Justice confirmation.
Mathner Education, I ask for approval of the following. Louis Levesque, Chief Justice.
All right. Are there any questions? Yes. You may stand there.
Before graduate school, I do have just a clarification after reviewing all of the interview and candidate materials. So in regard to, some of them had 2 lines of comments and scores. Could you break down how exactly that was done? Were only some of them reviewed by 2 interviewees, and what exactly does that final score mean, and what is it out of?
All right, so the question would go to me, and I believe I can send it to who would address that best, which would be Mr. Wagner.
Yeah, so that was the number of people who commented on those was just the amount of people who were able to be in the interviews, so 1 for each. The advisory committee was made up of 5 people with different availabilities for different interviews, and the score was just out of 10 what they thought the person would be grading the interview.
Are there any further questions? Yes.
I have one more clarification. So why are there 2 lines for some of the candidates and only 1 in terms of the overall groupings in the spreadsheet?
Mr. Wagner.
If your question is different score, like total scores, that would just be the amount of people who reviewed them. There were some interviews that had more people in them than others, depending on who was available to be in the interview from the committee, and then notes were shared and discussed. Does that answer the question? Is not?
One final clarification. In terms of each of those blocks, so I understand that there's 5 interviewees, but say there's 1 line of comments for a candidate that was interviewed. Is that representative of all 5 interviewees who were represented there, or is that just 1 individual that was received?
I'll defer to Ray again.
Yeah, that was the notes from the interview. So the later deliberation between all of them happened later, not from. Those are the notes from the actual interview room. It's bad. Okay.
I believe Rhett's trying to say that each note that is made for each candidate is made from 1 interviewer. Does that answer?
Yeah, and I was just clarifying that because it seems like that means that although there were 5 people who were interviewing for each person who was being considered or whoever received an interview, then only actually received comments represented by 1 of those interviewees interviewers, or 2 of them at most. So that was what I was.
I don't think that that's a question.
I think.
I'll rephrase it as a question. So each block, if there's only 1 line for an interviewee, does that mean that only 1 interviewer actually responded to those questions and that was presented to Senate?
Ray, you can answer.
Yes. I think you got it.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions? All right. Seeing none, we'll move into debate.
Mathner Education. I would just like to reiterate our duty as senators and as members of SGA as a whole, and that is to serve, promote, and unify the individual student. To serve and promote the individual student, unifying all that is Auburn. Sorry guys, been typing a lot of words today. But with that, I would also like to reiterate what Rhett said his key deciding factor was in choosing these appointees, which was looking at who demonstrated the best understanding of the judicial process, which was shown through their qualifications and objectives. Chapters 307.2 and 307.2.1 of the Code state, confirmation proceedings shall adhere to the following procedures. A list of a nominee's qualifications and objectives for their proposed position shall be made available for the Student Senate to view at least 1 week prior to confirmation. So there's nothing else in the code that states that we should be confirming them on the basis of.
Is there any further debate? Seeing none, we will move into a vote.
I didn't make a motion.
My bad, so sorry, Kyler.
I move to pass this bill as written.
Is there a second? Seeing it is seconded, we will now move into a vote. All of those in favor, please say aye and comment yes. Aye. All of those opposed, please say no and comment no. The ayes have it and the bill is passed. Can you guys see my screen that I started to share? Yeah. Cool. Moving now into P, SSB 21090703, presented by Kyla Mathner for the Associate Justice's confirmation.
Mathner Education. I ask for approval of the following: Liz Campbell, Associate Justice; Jordan Bailey, Associate Justice; Stephen Morris, Associate Justice; Dylan Peterson, Associate Justice; Ian Guerrero, Associate Justice; and Mason Smith, Associate Justice.
Are there any questions? Seeing that there are no questions, we'll move into debate. Kyla, you are allotted the first point of debate. Is there any further debate? Well, seeing none, I believe Kyla, then you are, yes. Oh wait, so sorry, no. Yeah, okay, no.
I think I'm good.
Move into debate, and I guess if there is no debate, then Kyla, you make a motion.
I move to pass this bill as written.
Is there a second? All of those in favor, please say aye and comment yes. All of those opposed, please say no and comment no. No. The ayes have it and the bill is passed as written. We will now move into PSSB 21090704, presented by Kyla Mathner for the Alternate Associate Justice's confirmation. Kyla, you have the floor.
Mathner Education. I ask for approval of the following: Sydney Houseman, Alternate Associate Justice; Thomas Watley, Alternate Associate Justice; Liam Walsh, Alternate Associate Justice. But I'd like to move to make an amendment to this bill and strike out Sydney Houseman as she denied her appointment.
A motion has been made. Is there a second? All those in favor, please say aye and comment yes. All those opposed, please say no and comment no. The ayes have it and the amendment is passed. Are there any questions?
Yes.
Are you going to be appointing an additional alternate justice or just keeping that?
Just keeping the two. Good question. Should have clarified
Are
that.
there any further questions? Yes, Graf. Never mind, Graf. Yes, Sam.
So is that position going to be filled, or is it just going to left?
So the alternate associate justices serve as substitutes for the associate justices if they are not able to serve for some reason. So with two kind of already being there, there's not necessarily a need to fill that role, at least not right now.
Thank you, Kyla. Are there any further questions, Graf?
So engineering, just to phrase this as a question, would it be appropriate formatting be to click Command C, bring the name back up, and correct the strike
Yes, Grafton, that's highly unnecessary. Me and Brad talked about it. Thanks for just
Highly unnecessary.
considering she denied her appointment. All right, any further questions? Seeing there are no further questions, seeing that there are no further questions, we'll now move.
Is there any
to
debate?
Is there any debate? Kylie, you have the first point of debate.
I move to pass this bill as written.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor, please say aye and comment yes. All those opposed, please say no and comment no. The ayes have it and the bill is passed. We will now move into PSSD 2109/0705, presented by Kyle Mathner for the Attorney General confirmation.
I ask for approval of the following: Gage Horton, Attorney General.
Are there any questions? Seeing that there are no questions, we will move into debate. Is there any debate?
I move to pass this bill as written.
Is there a second? The bill is seconded. We will now move into a vote. All of those in favor, please say aye and comment yes. All of those opposed, please say no and comment no. The ayes have it and the bill is passed as written. Up next is PSSB 2109/0706, presented by Kyle Mathner for the Secretary of the Judicial Court confirmation.
I ask for approval of the following: Camille Anders, Secretary.
Are there any questions? Seeing that there are no questions.
Oh, she had one.
Oh, so sorry. Yes, Mr. Ward.
For graduate school, I do have a question just about like the position that was applied for. Obviously, if they're still up here, then they must have accepted the role of secretary. But maybe I was wrong and I didn't read it correctly. I just wanted clarification to make sure that.
Oh, yeah, I can actually answer that one if you're okay with that. She was appointed by Rhett after applying, and then upon Rhett notifying her of that appointment, she wished to decline that appointment. And it wasn't even supposed to be on the.
It was my fault.
Oh, okay, I'll give it to Rhett then.
Yeah, so for this one, she applied for a variety of positions, and when we kind of deliberated over whether she'd be good to drop down roles, as we kind of did with other ones, that's when she was found, hey, she'd be a great secretary in deliberations. I felt like I agreed, and so I called her and said, hey, would you be open to this? And she said yes. So at that point, she dropped down one position.
Thanks for clarification.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Oh, so sorry. That was me telling why my laptop is about to die. Are there any further questions? We will now move into a debate.
I move to pass this bill as written.
All right, it is seconded. We will now move into a vote. All of those in favor, please say aye and comment yes. Aye. All those opposed, please say no and comment no. All right, just as the ayes have it. We will now move to PSSB 21. Oh, excuse me, that concludes our current orders. We will now move into future orders. Beginning with PSSB 2109/1301, and this will be presented by Graf Sullivan. For the Director of Outreach Projects Confirmation.
Sullivan, Engineering. I ask for approval of the following: Isabella D., Director of Outreach Projects. So this position was appointed in the spring. However, the person that had this role has since had to step down. So this position has been executive decided to fill this position with Isabella D.
All right, are there any questions? Yes, Mr. Orr.
For graduate school, I do have a question specifically about materials. Well, is this a position where we're also receiving materials as students?
yes, we will now, of course, provide you with those.
That's understandable.
No, I can send those out. But yes, that is the situation on that one. All right. Moving now to PSSB. This is a hoop. 2109-1301, presented by Riley Locke and Brandon Belson for the Commendation for Auburn University athletes at the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games.
Is this on? Hello? Hello?
Yes.
There we go. All right. So just information about how it's formatted before we start reading it. It's organized by sport, and then within each sport by alphabetical order by last name. It's just saying. Okay. Commendation for Auburn University athletes at the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games. Whereas the Olympic Games is an international multi-sport event where the best athletes of participating countries compete with one another with the mission of promoting international unity and peace. And whereas the Olympic Games take place once every 4 years, and the Games of the 32nd Olympiad took place during the summer of 2021 in Tokyo, Japan, after being delayed for 1 year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas Auburn University was well represented at the Games with a coalition of 15 current and former athletes representing 12 countries and territories competing across 5 sports. And whereas, please scroll down. Whereas Emily Carasone, current Auburn softball assistant coach representing Team Italy, made history as Auburn's first Olympian to compete in softball. And whereas Tim Boots competed for Team Germany and made history as Auburn's first Olympian in men's tennis. And whereas Nathan Allen competed for Team Jamaica in the men's 400-meter track and field event and the 4x400-meter relay as the anchor, where the team finished 6th overall. And whereas Rachel Dinkoff made history as Auburn's first ever female Olympian track and field athlete and competed for Team USA in the discus throw. And whereas Kai Sullivan represented Trinidad and Tobago and competed in the women's 4x100-meter relay. And whereas Donald Thomas was the first Auburn athlete to serve as a flag bearer for a country, representing his home country of the Bahamas and competing in the high jump. And whereas Annie Laser competed for Team USA and finished the Games with a bronze medal in the women's 200-meter breaststroke. And whereas Zach Apple competed for Team USA in his Olympic debut and won 2 gold medals swimming as the anchor in the men's 4x100-meter freestyle relay and helped set a world record in the men's 4x100-meter medley relay. And whereas Marcelo Treghini competed for Brazil swimming as the anchor in the men's 4x100-meter freestyle relay, and whereas Santiago Grassi swam for Argentina in the men's 50-meter freestyle and the 50-meter butterfly, and whereas Peter Hololo swam for Hungary in the men's 4x100-meter medley relay, and whereas Julia Mayan swam for Luxembourg in the women's 50-meter and 100-meter freestyle, and whereas Adriel Sainz, who is one of the 2 current Auburn students to compete in the Games, made his Olympic debut swimming for the U.S. Virgin Islands in the 100-meter and 200-meter breaststroke. And whereas current Auburn freshman gymnast Sunisa Lee made history as the first Hmong American to compete for Team USA and brought home a bronze medal in the uneven bars final, a silver medal in the team's final, and a gold medal in the coveted individual all-around, continuing the streak of Team USA winning this title for the 5th consecutive Olympic Games. Therefore, we, the Auburn University Student Senate, wish to commend these incredible former and current Auburn University athletes for representing the university on the international stage and for demonstrating what it means to be an Olympian and embodying a spirit that is not afraid. So, sorry, I turned it off too early. If you have any questions, I've already triple-checked spelling, but it couldn't hurt to triple-check me again, especially I tried to pronounce everyone's name right. I have literally a phonetic sheet right here. But I'm going to master it by next week. But yeah, if you have any concerns or questions, let me know.
Well, that's awesome. Now we'll conclude our last future order of the evening. So I'm now going to move into my reports for the eve. Thank you all for a very professional meeting. I really do appreciate that. Looking at our involvement office hours, I still have not sent Glenn a finalized schedule of what that dining opportunity could look like, but it's still super promising. Sounds like it's probably going to happen. So what I'm going to do in this next week, or I guess this week probably, is I'm going to send out a poll asking you guys when you'd be most available to complete a potential dining office hour. And so then from there, I'll be able to send that to Glenn and give final recommendations. But I expect that to probably start by next week, which would be pretty cool. I think Graf sent me today or yesterday the fully updated office hour link, which I do appreciate you all crafting for me and getting those hours in and set. I'm waiting to get those on the website, but we're working through the website right now. So I'll let you guys know as soon as possible when those can be posted. But I would love if you guys could reach out to your colleges and get those office hours posted maybe somewhere on your websites. In the meantime, that have websites that can be edited maybe a little bit easier. And because, what was it, Ryan, you mentioned that? I love that idea. That was great. We still have office hour signs as well. So I really appreciate y'all, if you just go check that link, your next office hour, just go to the student center maybe the day before, the day of. Those signs look really good, and I feel like it would be a lot easier for people to recognize your hours. Just appreciate all that you do. I know I'm blanking right now, but I'll probably think of stuff to remind you all in the recap emails. Would love to hear more about the parking, specifically Elizabeth. Thank you for that great note that the B zone has so many vacancies. That's clearly something we should be addressed if we're sending out emails saying people can't park how they've been parking for a long time. So other than that, I would say that this meeting is now adjourned. Be smart, be safe, be kind. Oh, I love that.